welcome to our very first episode of All Engineers podcast, where we uncover stories, challenges, success, achievements of engineers who tend or shape to build the world to become a better place through engineering.
As well from the university, a senior in the oil and gas industry, and he once served as a manager in the South Sudan oil and gas industry. You're highly welcome. And you kindly please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I would like to shout out to all family, all the engineers, the different discipline of engineer in South Sudan. My name is Thomas Tim Luach. I'm actually a petroleum engineer from International University of East Africa. That's a brief introduction about me. Actually, I'm a petroleum engineer by profession.
As I've said before, he's my senior from the university, and he's also my senior in career. So shout out to all IUA students from the International University of East Africa, and all the engineers, especially the petroleum engineers, not leaving any other engineering discipline as well. I'm really very delighted for you to be here as my senior one, and I'm also delighted for you to be a person who already has been a leader or someone who had already been a manager in the oil and gas industry. So I'm so really happy for you to be here to share more of the ideas and enlighten on oil and gas industry and give us a bit of the knowledge. To you as an engineer, I would like to ask you, what inspired you to do engineering in the first place? Like, who inspired you to do engineering? Was it like inheritance? Was it something you wished to do, or was it like a hobby? Or I just want to know what made you do engineering.
Yeah, thank you once again. Actually, this it will be some kind of long answers to this question, because I personally, this has actually been my dream, because I was raised in the middle of a community where there is oil already. The first oil that I discovered was machineries that were belonging to Chevron. Chevron was one of the oil companies that came to South Sudan, and then it pulled out in 1984. So we normally used to go and play into those machineries, and then we felt like these are some of the things that we should work on. And on top of that, actually, when the other exploration was taking place, the survey, I participated in that. That's where I started to build my dream. One day, one time, that maybe if that's the only way, and this is the only way that I can actually help South Sudan and maybe build and find out how we actually extract the oil from underground. So this is some kind of brief answer that I can give. This is the overall idea that actually motivated me to go for petroleum engineering.
With that, I would like to go ahead and ask you, if you were not a petroleum engineer, what other engineering do you think you would have found yourself doing, or you would have found yourself interested in doing, apart from petroleum engineering?
Yeah, apart from petroleum engineer, actually it was not going to be an engineer, because I happened to work in the clinic. And that's the dream some people were seeing in me. It was during the wartime when these NGOs do come. There's an NGO called Mid-Air. That was a humanitarian organization that was actually helping giving out the treatment to the community freely. So they came by that time. We didn't even know how to say ABCD, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then they taught us actually from P1, the one of Kenyan, until we reached to a certain level. And from there, we were made to be translating, from Dinka to English, from English to Dinka to the community, so that the messages actually reach people from the grassroots. And all of a sudden, I was actually sent by them for further training. I went and did what is called CHW, Community Health Worker. I did it for 9 years in a place called Orange, and then later on we were transferred to Kodok. I finished it there, and then from there I went back to Malut. I was working in Malut Hospital. If you go to Malut, you will see there's a certain clinic that was run by Mida when you're actually heading to that side of this where there is secondary school there. Mm-hmm. So you will see that clinic. We were actually the one who were running it. I happen also to be transferred into most of the Fayam of Malut County. I work in Kiloshirin, which was called Athieng. Then I work in Payua. Payua is Pramdit. I work in Tiangrial. I work in Pariak. And I work in Malut in itself. So this is what people were actually seeing in me, and they thought maybe that's the only thing that I was going to do. And then that wasn't in my mind, but it was just a matter of trying to find a way on how we should actually get into education.
Okay, so the trick is that if you are not an engineer, you are going to be a humanitarian assistant or you are going to be a doctor.
Actually, I was going to be a doctor, and even till now, my community, despite the fact that I did engineering, they don't actually call me engineer. They actually call me doctor, so and so. And up to now, even the house, some people ask me to inject them, because I still have that knowledge, and I can prescribe even some drugs to people, because that's what I actually did in almost 5 years or 7 years doing it. So I would have actually become a medical doctor for that matter.
So you don't have picked engineering, but that's really quite interesting because I didn't know that you would also be a doctor or you can help in the humanitarian assistance or giving of first aid. To me, I feel like it's actually a good thing to have one or two skills that you could have in ground. You could be a doctor still if you would have had the chance, or if you still have the chance to go further with your education.
Sure.
That's if you're still interested, you still could be a doctor and an engineer at the same time. So طبعا at the university there are courses we love, and then there are courses that do give us hard time. So during your educational journey or during the time where you were pursuing your bachelor's at IUEA, so which subject did you love the most when you were acquiring your bachelor's in petroleum engineering in particular?
Yeah, actually, petroleum engineer is not an easy course. Even I remember when we joined the university, we were very many. And hearing the name is very sweet and very nice, but what is inside of it is some kind of, difficult, because if you are talking about the subject like production, you are talking of reservoir, you are talking of drilling, you are talking of oil and gas engineering, and name it, petrophysics, sedimentologies. Yes. These are all subjects that are within there, hydrocarbon flow assurance. These are some of the subjects that are actually difficult, especially subjects that have to do with calculation. People end up actually dropping out from the second years, trying to go and join the other courses. However, I did not give up. Only that I was almost giving up on the duration of the course because it was huge. I was counting as 5 years course. Yeah. And that 5 years course, we think of not getting knowledge, but you wanted to finish so that you go back home and get the job and then get paid. So I decided in the middle of the process, while I was doing it, I was not actually running away because it is difficult, but because of the duration, I decided to go and I applied for a certain course, which is called oil and gas management. That was a business administration in oil and gas management. Mm-hmm. Until the sponsor, the one who was sponsoring me, rejected that thing, that you shouldn't do that. You are an engineer. Why would you even compare the engineer with the business courses? And then I say, well, it's so difficult and all this. Say, no, you need to go with it. I say, the courseman is very expensive. Say, are you the one paying the school fees?
The tuition.
No, why do you assume that? So overall, the subject that actually was some kind of difficult to me was reservoir simulation.
Reservoir simulation?
Yes, reservoir simulation. Because the reservoir simulation, we were given a software called CMG, and then you are given that data. Then data, you just run them in the notepad. So you put some coding there. So you transfer those data into the software CMG. Mm-hmm. So you run that CMG. If you did not properly do the coding, it gives you an error. But if you properly did that one, it gives you the 3D of the reservoir. Mm-hmm. You can even know where there's a producer well, the injection well, and all the overall idea, the geometry, yes, the size, you name it. Mm-hmm. So it was some kind difficult because it is something to do with computerizing. You computer it, you run it, and yeah, that was the only subject that I actually found was some kind of difficult among all the subjects in petroleum engineering.
Okay, so with reservoir simulation being one of the most challenging courses or course unit at the university, which are the course units or lecturers that make you feel like petroleum engineering was not a regret for you to do, or make you feel like you were in love with petroleum engineering? Otherwise, which one was your best subject that you felt like you did with all your heart or you loved during the course?
Because sometimes teaching depends on the lecturer. Sometimes when you feel uncomfortable with a certain lecturer, you cannot understand things.
Yes.
But in my life, I was so okay with one of the lecturer called Madam Irene. Yes. She was very good. She was the one who was teaching the well testing, the reservoir engineering. She was even teaching some part of the drilling, production 1, production 2. Yes. Even including the reservoir simulation itself. Yes. She was the one who provided those things. So she was the best.
With that, I would also like to rewind on the question that I've said, which was your best course unit. Which one was the best course unit you loved during your study year?
Yeah, the best course that I love, actually, I would actually mention only two, because the reservoir engineering itself,
Yes.
and then the petroleum economics. You know, the reservoir engineering, you enjoy trying to calculate equation called material balance.
MBE.
Yeah.
Material balance
Exactly.
equation.
So that questions in other people is very difficult. You are just given a question, you do drive it until you are able to separate gas, oil, and water. That question, it makes sense. But when it is just a very small question, but it actually full paper, even during the exam, it always full almost 4 to 5 papers.
Yes.
So it was my favorite subject, and petroleum economic was my favorite subject. And it was actually made to be so motivating by the lecturer itself, because there was time that she asked us, after you finish here, what course are you going to major in it? So we were trying to select the courses randomly, but she was able to advise us by saying some of the courses they do finish, like drilling can be done, you know, but reservoir will continue to be there. So I would prefer to tell you, either you take reservoir engineering and then well testing and the rest. So there it made me to actually have this kind of tendency to make myself in a position of understanding what is actually reservoir engineering. And I wish even if I'm to major it, even though I did master in oil and gas management, I still continue to believe that one time, either petroleum economic or reservoir engineering, I will have to do
your further studies. In university, actually, or after finishing your university, you realize that the degree itself, it's not alone. It's not like a key major point that can help you succeed in life, or you realize that the papers alone are not enough for you to proceed to have the job, to have a successful life as an engineer, or to further succeed in your career. So I would like to ask you, since you've been a leader before in the oil and gas industry, and you have been working for so long now, and that you already have the experience, so what do you think it's there, or what do you think could be a soft skill apart from the degree that you have itself? What other skills do you think an engineer should acquire for them to be out there at the market and for them to be able to survive, like in general, in the country or the oil and gas industry?
Yeah, actually, beyond the expertise in technical part,
yes,
there are some of the soft skills that are required, especially communication. You know, you need to have a proper communication. Sometimes we provide data, and then maybe the financial investors will not understand. So you need to have this kind of communication where you are able to interpret to them what is it all about. Like you cannot go to a non-engineer and you tell them that our oil is 25 API. They will not understand, you know. But you have to tell them what is this API, and then they're able to understand. So that they need to know whether that, because when you are going to sell out your oil, the oil actual price is determined on the quantity of the oil, whether it is heavy, light, and the rest.
Yes, the quality itself.
Yeah. So that quality you will calculate it using API.
Yes.
And that API will determine
what the density
of that oil exactly.
Yes.
Okay. So you need to have that kind of communication that you will make other people understand. In the work area also, you need also to be a teamwork. This is a teamwork is very important at the workplace, because I remember when I was in the field, well, we were doing the well installation. I actually didn't tell you, because when I was in college, we were able to participate in ESP, and that was my final year project.
Yes,
you know?
final year project.
Yeah, it was something to do with gas lift and ESP comparison between the two.
Okay.
And you are aware very well that now we don't have gas lift in Foley. We actually don't have it in South Sudan.
In South Sudan, in general.
And it's actually considered to be the most safest way of extracting oil. It's environmentally okay. But I was trying to know why is it not actually applying in our oil and gas industry.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did that one, and I was able to understand why we are not applying the gas and all this, because we didn't have enough gas and the rest. So in the teamwork, you need to make people work. You don't need client to know that you are mistaken. You just come and say, "Can I help you?"
Yes.
Because if the client realizes that there is a mistake somewhere here, you will be disqualified.
Yes.
And from there, the oil field, we compete with the downtime, because you are given a specific time to run the wells so that you're commissioning it. So this has to do with the teamwork, because if there is no teamwork, you will not
do the work.
do the work.
Yeah.
And there are other soft skills that are actually quite that so it's not only just on technical part. You have also to have this kind of soft skill in the oil and gas industry.
Okay. So at the university, of course, they do not teach us any skills of how to talk, how to stand, how to deal with public speaking, and so on. So, what do you think an engineer should also work on themselves? Like, what ideas could you give an engineer? What could they do, like, for themselves to learn how to communicate to people better, or to acquire that a very soft skill?
Yeah, actually, I would encourage engineers because every subject they actually impacts you as well. Because it is good also to be open to any courses that are available. Okay, even if it is something not related to your course,
Yes,
you
sure.
also need to go for it so that you're able
True.
to understand. And that's why I'm very sure I was able to do a master in oil and gas management. Actually, it's a business administration in oil and gas management. That's MBA.
Yes.
Meaning I'm like, I've shifted out of my...
Yes,
my
being flexible.
Yeah, exactly. So, but
Yes.
my understanding, I also need to know the other part of it. What do they do? So that whenever I stand up, I'm able to actually answer both technically and, administratively.
Yeah.
So I encourage each and every engineer also to have time to grab themselves a course that is actually build them up to have these soft skills.
Okay, that's really very wonderful. That's a very great message and advice as well. Because sometimes engineers would tend to say, I'm an engineer, I've studied for 5 years, I don't need to do any business course, I cannot do the other managerial courses since they already stick to engineering. But to me, myself, I would encourage that, because one time I might think to do a course that is outside engineering as well. So, Engineer Thomas, I would also like to ask you, since you've been here as an engineer, you've been an expert, and you've been also a manager as well, and at a very young age, which I'm really very proud of and I'm so impressed of. So I would also like to put the attention of what do you think are the opportunities of engineers in this country? South Sudan is a very young country and it's still building and it's still growing. So what do you think are the opportunities for the engineers outside there? Because few of us are already losing hope because the system is not favoring all of us at some point. So you could be an engineer and then you would want to do a job that is outside engineering. So what do you think are the opportunities that are still outside for the engineers in the industry itself?
Actually, we have a lot of engineers, because when we are talking here, we are talking of all engineers.
Yeah, sure.
And I personally am being focused on the course I did, which is petroleum engineering.
Yeah, sure.
So every answer that I'm giving is based on the
your
petroleum
experience and your profession.
So in petroleum engineering, we still have a lot of opportunities. Remember, we still have we have a reserve of oil that is untouched.
Yes.
So that translated is only 10%. 10% of the reserve that we actually started to extract from, it represents 30% of the area that has actually been explored. Okay, so most of the areas in South Sudan are not yet explored. So if we are to explore in most of the area in South Sudan, I'm very sure we'll have much of that quantity. Sometime when I was appointed as a manager for PMC in Saipet, then someone we met and they say, this guy now is a manager in Saipet. I say, how? How is that? They say, yeah, he's a manager in Saipet. The guy hugged me and said, are you sure, Tim, you are a manager? I say, yeah. You don't need to lose hope. We still have chance,
Yeah, it's true.
The more are coming. So this reserve and this kind of mess that is actually happening, there will be time where it will stop. And then the required position will be given to competent engineers.
Sure.
But I hope in time, with this vast reserve that we have in South Sudan, will actually open their way for them to, to get opportunities yet.
Yeah,
so they shouldn't lose hope. We still have a lot of opportunities within oil and gas industry.
And for someone who would think that, do you think you would advise an engineer or someone who's starting from a fresh graduate who wants to just have a job at hand? Do you think it's a good idea, or do you advise them on taking any job at a fresh start for them to be able to keep going until they get the perfect job? Do you think it's a good idea?
To be honest, there's nothing like you trying to go and practice the field of your studies. And I think I'm one of the luckiest people that happened, that I graduated and I was able to go and work in the field. Even I rejected a position that was given to me in the company simply because I want to be under someone so that he's able to teach me. And I found myself, I was taught on what is actually required. And all engineers that are still in the university, whatever is taught there in the university, okay, whatever is taught there in the university, it seems to be difficult, but practically, it is very easy. You know, you go to the field, it is very, very, very easy. So I personally, I encourage each and every engineer, because you know, you don't need to come and look where there is money. I personally, I work with a contractor.
Yes.
And most of the projects are run by the contractor, by the way, in the oil field. It's issue to do with the drilling, the service rig, you know, the well monitoring, even the electricity,
Yes.
name it. These are the contractors that are running. Like me, when I was in the field, I can be given a date of a certain well for us to install ESP. So it is up to me to do the calculation,
Yeah, sure.
so that I'm able to know the depth, you know, I'm able to know where to locate the farm.
Yes.
And then I had to go and do the running hole, which is RIH, I think you know that. Okay, they will just come and see how we are commissioning it, then hope then the thing works. So I encourage my engineers, let them not put in their mind only that when you graduated, you just need to get a white collar job. Try to go, even if it is dirty. You need to put your boot into
You
that
have to
place.
have experience.
Yes, you need to have experience. Put your boot into that thing. If I show you my clothes when I try to go for the first well installation, on my clothes you will see that I'm somebody who's still an amateur. You know, people are very clean, but for me I'm so dirty. You know, they see that this is the new person. So let's try also to get involved to what we have studied. Then later on, let's look where you can get money so that you're able to just sustain your life.
Now, also, there is this group of, let's say, graduates. Now, I want to shift the energy from engineers to fresh engineers or to fresh graduates, people who graduated or recent, because I'm one of them, and I've been with a lot of a group of this kind that we've been having. We've been having challenges, actually, challenges of getting jobs here and there. And sometimes I feel like the issue or the thing that stops us from getting what we want to get is that sometimes we have high expectations, or sometimes we're having higher hopes that maybe now that I'm a petroleum engineer, or I graduated, or I have a good score, a good CGPA, I would think of, I want to start with GPOC, I want to start with DPOC. I'm always dreaming big on clients. So what do you think on that? Like for a fresh graduate, like the expectation side of it is the thing that leads most of us down. So what do you advise on that? The issue of the expectations.
You know, sometimes expectation can kill, because when you are at university, we compete over the grades.
Sure.
Okay? When you are at university, we compete over the grade. But when we come to the real life, we no longer consider the grade.
Yeah, sure.
Okay? So what we consider is you to be resilient and be submissible. Trying to put that mentality of yours aside and try to think that I want to learn. Okay? So for those engineers, you don't need to come and say, now I have, 4
first-class degree.
first-class degrees, and then I cannot go and work there. That's not good. You know, you need to put your knowledge, even your intelligence, you need to put it into practice so that the country benefit from it, And I encourage most of the people, instead of rushing to those JOCs, you don't need to rush to JOCs. See those small subcontractors that are contracted by those GOCs.
Yes.
These people, they have a very good skill. They can nurture you to become someone in the near future. And that's why I was very, very happy, because every company that I worked in are all contractors.
Yeah, sure.
Starting with WAC. WAC is the ESP company, which is a service company. I worked in it for 5 years or 6. And then later on, I went and worked in SIPED. SIPED also is an engineering company that is actually doing well as one of the subsidiaries of NILPED. So we are running a whole what is called power plant. A whole power plant is run by SIPED. You go to Unity, you go to College, they are the one running the whole big those generators.
Yes.
You see, these are contractors. You grab yourself, go there. Yes. Try to go and learn before you consider doing the work.
So I'd also like to ask you, engineering and life are two different things, and experience itself. So sometimes people would think doing engineering or to become an engineer. And then people would also think that the higher the grades you get as an engineer, or the higher the CGPA, the better engineer you would become in future, or you might be a leader as well, or you would get a top managerial position. Do you think the issue of the grades actually applies or it helps engineers out there to be successful, or what do you think are the traits for an engineer to be successful apart from the grades itself?
Actually, I personally, I don't consider. But for your case, someone who is in the school, you need to work hard so that you are able to get a very good grade.
Yeah, sure.
But after you are done there, don't put yourself that maybe if I to apply with you for a job, for me, like I have 3 point something and you are 4, and then you think we need to apply for a job, I have this certain grade, then you should get paid more than me. That's not true.
It's true.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you need also to submit yourself. You have 4, continue to be there. That's 4. It is in the paper. But practically it's something else.
In real life.
Yeah, in real life it's something different.
Okay.
So let's leave that expectation of me. I have this kind of. It is good, yes, in the university. You celebrated it. You feel very good, and then you continue. Like for me, it's not an insult because I cannot say myself I was the best in the university and I was not the last in the university.
Yes.
We are the people that are considered maybe almost there. Okay?
Yes.
So when there were these brilliant engineers, by the way, ahead of us. These people, when they were studying, they were competing over the grade. Yes. You find them, they are competing. You go to someone to help, they don't. And these the behaviors of smart people. They will be in a position not to help people, actually. They wanted to be the best among the best.
Yes.
Yes. So they were competing. So for me, we were just there, and even sometimes they help us, Yes, and I was the first, maybe if not, I was the first manager among my classmates from University of East Africa. Okay, but it was not determined by the grade. So
yes. That's really wonderful.
Yeah.
And that will actually lead me into asking the next question. Not about grades sometimes. It's not about your CGPA. It's not about how you perform. It's about you yourself, and how you handle life. As people with higher grades does not mean that you're going to be the best engineers, but still, yes, it's not a bad thing to have good grades. So I would like to go ahead and ask on that very sentence that you said, it's not about grades. So what do you think? Do you think were the best traits, or what do you think were the best skills that helped you to acquire the position of a manager in one of the subsidiaries in the oil and gas industry in South Sudan here?
Yeah, the best way is for you to, be who you are, and then at a certain point, because the opportunity, they don't come like these ones. Like people who did not make it, I don't see myself the best out of them. They will become someone one day, they will become manager, they will become anything outside. Okay? So what you do is for you to be in a position, one day your turn will come in.
Yes, sure.
You'll be the next person. If it is me today, team, tomorrow is you, next tomorrow is another person. Even you can become a boss to your boss. You need to humble yourself. You need to practice. You put more energy. If you don't have job, to do short courses.
Yes.
Like for me, I did what is called a PMP. PMP is the professional professional. So I have that certificate. This is a worldwide certified certificate that can help you. Even if you go wherever you go, it works. So you equip yourself with more stuff.
How about other skills such as networking, social skills? The oil and gas industry is a very big industry, and sometimes you cannot do it alone. You need to have a vast network of people. You have to socialize. You need to have connection. What do you think about these skills as well?
Yeah, these skills, they help, because now current industry of oil and gas of South Sudan, it is somehow something to do with connection, But I personally encourage people not to lose hope, because there will be time for everything. And now the most important part of the work is something to do. You need to be very social to people who are in the industry. Like for me, when I was in that company, I was in a position to help people. If there is a position that came in, I know who is brilliant and who deserves to be in a certain position. Okay? So social networking also, it does play the role. Okay? Apart from connection. But when you put someone, and someone has connected you based on your network, social networking, not because you are related to him or whatever the case, this person will give you the best of the best.
Yes. And I actually agree on that. Connection, yes, do help. But for you to have like a network, or for you to socialize with people, I'm one of the person who believe that human connection, it's like an extra point to your degree, because you could be a very smart engineer and you have the papers, but still you lack the people. Information these days is everywhere, and a little information can actually change your life. So for an engineer or a young engineer, or a fresh graduate, try to be social. Try to have a wide network of people around you, not anybody, but people in the industry, people who exist in the industry, people like the engineer himself, that I was able to know him back days from the university and in the oil and gas industry as well. So connection is good, but also try to be social, not only social, but try to educate yourself on social careers as well. And what message do you have for the young engineers out there, or for students actually who are just doing their careers, people who are still under the influence of the degree itself, not knowing what's outside there in the outside world? So what's your best message to the young engineers and the students who are still pursuing their degree?
Yeah, the message that I can give them is because it's the same example that I gave, and is one of the things that this person was disbelieving. They see South Sudan is no longer considering the qualification, and in one point it actually discouraged people. So we also need to, in that way, we also need to be resilient, because the situation that is already there will not prevent you not to acquire your whatever the course you dream of.
Yeah.
You need to do it until you finish it. Two, the situation that we have currently in South Sudan, where people believe in connection. Maybe you have certain powerful person that will help you to be connected. There will be time that it will actually finish. There will be time the most competent people are required. Yes, you need to have a qualification, then you are required to do the work. There will be a time where position will be advertised on the board. You apply. Yes. When you apply,
and you go for interview.
Yes. Okay. This kind of situation that now we are seeing within the industry will actually come to an end.
Sure.
It's because there are limited chances, there are limited resources. The focus now is oil and gas industry, and that's where everyone has gone to. Even someone who is not an engineer wanted to go and work in the engineer. Even if I know oil and gas industry does not only require engineers, all the disciplines.
Yeah, all the disciplines.
They do work there. Sure. But still, there will be time where you are required at your position based on your qualification.
Sure.
You did IT, you go to IT. You did business, you do something to do with business. Or you go to business development, whatever the case.
Yes.
If you are an engineer, you go to the field, do the work. Yes. By the time you come back, you become a production engineer, or you become a P&F engineer. These are all engineering kind of specialization.
Yes.
Or become an engineering thing instead of bringing a business person to become a production engineer. Okay, or you go and bring a lawyer to become a production manager. Sure. What will that person understand?
Sure.
So all this situation will come to an end, and I encourage all the students, even the engineers that have not yet got the job, and the ones that are in the school, keep the spirit. You finish your thing. There will be time. Each and every one of you will actually get what you wanted, and you will perform very well. So keep dreaming, keep moving, don't give up.
With that, I would like to wind up on a very small question for you, engineer and a leader at the same time, a very passionate personality. My last question would be, what is your advice, not for only petroleum engineers, for all the engineers who are watching AllEngineers podcast right now? What would be your last word for them for this very episode?
Yeah, my last word for them is that all of us, we need to encourage ourselves and also give a support. Like this kind of platform is good as well, so that we're able to express. I thought when I came in, I thought maybe you were going to ask me what is petroleum engineering and what is this and all this and what caused and why all this, But let's keep on encouraging ourselves, because this platform also will help, to other engineers. Even if there is other engineers in different fields also that has the same challenges, that wanted to speak out, also they're welcome also to come to you. So my last message, let's keep moving, because in the end, all the disciplines, they do matter in this country. Whether you are civil engineer, architecture, you are electrical engineer, you are mechanical engineer, you are chemical engineer, and the rest. You have your role to play, and still the future holds it for you. We don't need to give up. Let's do the work. But if there is an opportunity that is out of your discipline that can fit you, in the meantime, please grab that opportunity and life continue until you get the best position that you wanted. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Engineer Thomas. It's been a pleasure for him to be at this interview. And thank you so much. And my last message as well to the viewers out there. This is All Engineers podcast. This is a podcast where all engineers come to share their stories, their experience, their challenges, their achievements that could shape South Sudan into a better place or into a very better future. I'm your host, Engineer Winil Fadl Amal Akol, and thank you for our very first episode. And have a very wonderful day or evening or night. Thank you very much.